Adaptive Drive, the new dimension in vehicle dynamic systems in the BMW X5. Certain vehicle dynamic influences cause self-movement of the body, which can be categorized and displayed in three categories. From a design perspective, the coordinate system with its three spatial coordinate axes makes a definition of these degrees of freedom possible. The main direction of movement, or the direction of travel, is defined by the longitudinal axis of the coordinate system and is referred to as longitudinal dynamics. Longitudinal dynamic vehicle states such an acceleration or braking lead to a diving of the vehicle and vehicle movement about the transverse axis. If the movement direction is on the transverse axis, as in steering operations or evasive maneuvering, this is referred to as lateral motion dynamics, and the vehicle is subject to rolling movements about the longitudinal axis. If body movement is on the vehicle vertical axis, this is referred to as vertical dynamics, which designates the up and down movements of the body, for instance on bumpy roads, as lifting. The last movement about the vertical axis of the vehicle is referred to as yawing. Looking at the vertical dynamic share of the presented self-movements of the body by analyzing the active forces of the individual movements, such as diving, rolling, and lifting in a vertical direction, it quickly becomes clear that active running gear control systems with a vertical dynamics management system make a considerable contribution to increase comfort of vehicle passengers. The aim of BMW engineers is suspension tuning that offers customers a sporty handling performance and a maximum degree of comfort. Conventional running gears influence the vertical dynamics with passive springs, shock absorbers, and anti-roll bars. Although they offer a high degree of safety, ultimately they only represent compromise between dynamics and comfort. The solution to this conflict of aims is active vehicle dynamic systems. BMW has been setting standards for years in this area with the system's dynamic drive and electronic damper control, or EDC. The roll stabilization system dynamic drive, which has been available for a long time in the 5, 6, and 7 series, guarantees a high degree of body stability when driving in curves and during evasive steering, because the body lean, that is to say, rolling movements, are reduced to a minimum. Furthermore, dynamic drive controls the self-steering effect, thus achieving particularly agile and sporty cornering behavior. Dynamic drive achieves this through targeted triggering of active anti-roll bars on the front axle and rear axle. In the 7 series, the well-known electronic damper control, EDC, is available in conjunction with dynamic drive. Thanks to electronic control of the damper forces, lifting movements of the body caused by the road surface are minimized. Brake diving is also reduced, which ensures a shorter stopping distance. The continuous adaptation of the damping forces to the respective road, load, and driving conditions by means of EDC offers the customer outstanding driving comfort. For the first time in this class, an active running gear is available in the new X5, which offers the two systems in a harmonized combination, the new Adaptive Drive. Adaptive Drive can influence all degrees of freedom of the vertical dynamics in a targeted manner. Part of this task is taken over by the new Vertical Dynamic Control, or VDC. A decisive novelty is that the damping of each individual wheel can be influenced independently of the others. This permits optimized adaptation to every vehicle operating state, the rolling movement when cornering, diving during braking maneuvers, lifting movements of the body, or any combination of the above are perfectly damped. To achieve this, each damper is equipped with its own sensor system and its own control unit for valve timing. All control units communicate with each other via the new high-speed bus system, FlexRay, and are coordinated by a central control unit. This Central Vertical Dynamics Control Unit, VDM, optimizes interaction by making allowances for further signals from its own sensor system and supplementary input signals from the network, which includes the control units of the other vehicle dynamic systems. In adaptive drive, the components of the hydraulic roll stabilization system, dynamic drive, take over the other task of optimizing comfort and handling dynamics. Via its own sensor system and networking with the control units of the drivetrain and the vehicle dynamic system, the control unit of the roll stabilization system receives information on the lateral motion dynamic vehicle operating state. It uses this information to calculate the forces necessary to keep the body horizontal and to adapt cornering behavior to the driving situation. The valve block receives corresponding electrical signals and converts them into hydraulic pressures, which are then applied at the swivel motors of the active anti-roll bars. In fractions of a second, they generate defined torques in the respective desired direction, thus preventing body lean. The selective distribution of these stabilizing torques between front and rear axle guarantees the agile and sporty handling performance of the X5 and provides a maximum of driving safety over the entire speed range. Both subsystems complement each other perfectly in adaptive drive. Thanks to the communication and the integrated tuning between the two systems, the respective system advantages are fully utilized. During very fast steering operations, for example, the roll stabilization system, dynamic drive, prevents rolling, whereas the vertical dynamic control provides optimum comfort at the same time. This means that even during vigorous evasive steering, there are hardly any interfering body movements. If the vehicle is traveling straight ahead, no active pressures are provided, and the anti-roll bar halves are almost freely rotatable in relation to one another. In contrast to conventional running gears, when one side of the vehicle encounters an uneven road surface, this is not passed on to the other wheel. The resulting reduction in interfering body lean, referred to as copying by specialists, is reduced even further by adaptive drive through coordinated control of the damper forces. Adaptive drive demonstrates its strengths, particularly in the X5, which, as a typical representative of the SAV class, has a high center of gravity and a high curb weight. Due to the high seating position of the driver and passengers, interfering body movements are particularly uncomfortable in the SAV vehicles. Excessive body lean with simultaneous loss of steering precision is regarded as unsporty. This is where adaptive drive offers a completely new driving feeling in every situation. On a winding country road, the X5 with its adaptive drive offers a handling performance similar to that expected of a sports car, and at the same time has the comfort of a saloon car. The vehicle can master even vigorous evasive steering movements with ease, and the driver feels safe at all times. In comparison with an SAV with conventional running gear, the X5 with adaptive drive is extremely comfortable on all road surface conditions. The body remains very stable, even on poor roads and country lanes. A Sport Mode button beside the gear selector gives the driver the option of selecting a sporty or comfort-oriented basic setting. Adaptive drive provides the customer with the optimum performance of an active X5 running gear. The vehicle dynamic characteristics with adaptive drive in the X5 were only achieved thanks to the know-how of the BMW Group, gained over the years and based on the highest engineering demands on the mechanical system and electronics and BMW software.